5 years ago, I walked away from the man I loved with nothing but a broken heart and a secret he never got the chance to hear. I thought I would never see Han Do-yoon again. I was wrong. The next time our eyes met, I wasn't the frightened scholarship student he had once promised to marry. I was standing on the biggest medical stage in Asia, preparing to accept an international award for an invention that was saving thousands of lives. And standing in the front row was the man who had shattered my future. He stared at me as though he'd seen a ghost. But that wasn't the moment that changed everything. The moment that truly changed his life came only seconds later, when my 6-year-old son called out, "Mom!" Do-yoon turned instinctively toward the voice. He looked at the little boy, then at me, then back at the little boy again. The color slowly disappeared from his face. For the first time in 5 years, he realized there was a question he should have asked long ago. Before we continue, I'd love to know where you're watching from today. Leave your country in the comments below because it's always amazing to see this community come together from all over the world. And if you enjoy heartfelt stories about love, family, second chances, and unforgettable life lessons, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our next story. Now, let me tell you how everything began. When my plane landed at Incheon International Airport, I stayed seated for a few extra moments after everyone else had stood up. Outside the window, Seoul stretched beneath a pale autumn sky. 5 years. 5 years since I had left this city believing I would never return. I smiled sadly. Funny how life works. Sometimes the places that hurt us the most become the places we have to visit again. Not because we've forgotten the pain, but because we've become stronger than it. "Mom?" A soft little voice pulled me back to the present. I turned toward my son. June rubbed the sleep from his eyes before looking through the airplane window. "Are we in Korea now?" "Yes." He smiled. "So this is where you used to live?" "It is." Before I could answer again, another voice joined the conversation. His twin sister, Mina. "Does that mean we're finally going to eat real Korean barbecue?" I laughed. "You've been thinking about food since we left Nairobi." She grinned proudly. "Food is important." June rolled his eyes. "You always think about food. And you always think about science." "I like science. I like barbecue." Their tiny argument lasted less than 10 seconds before both of them burst into laughter. I watched them quietly. Every difficult decision I'd made over the past 6 years suddenly felt worth it. There had been nights when I wondered whether I was strong enough to raise 2 children alone. There had been mornings when I questioned whether I should give up on my dream and accept an ordinary job instead of trying to build a medical technology company from scratch. There had been months when every investor rejected our ideas. Months when I couldn't even afford new laboratory equipment. But somehow, we had survived. Not because life became easier, because we refused to quit. The passengers slowly began leaving the aircraft. I picked up my backpack. "Come on, the world's waiting." Mina grabbed my hand immediately. June carried his own small backpack, insisting he was old enough to help. He'd been saying that since he turned 5. As we stepped into the arrivals hall, dozens of television screens displayed the same news headline. Global Health Summit opens today in Seoul. Scientists, researchers, government leaders, medical innovators from more than 50 countries had gathered to discuss the future of healthcare. And this year, our company had been invited to present the portable diagnostic device we'd spent 5 years developing. It still felt unreal. 5 years earlier, I had been a graduate student, struggling to understand advanced laboratory equipment. Now, people were calling me one of Africa's leading biomedical innovators. Success has a strange way of arriving. It rarely comes when you expect it. And it never arrives without asking for something in return. Outside the airport, a black van waited beside the curb. A cheerful woman stepped out holding a welcome sign. "Dr. Neema Mwangi." She bowed politely. "Welcome back to Seoul, Dr. Mwangi." "Thank you. My name is Mrs. Kim. I'll be assisting your family during your stay." She smiled warmly at the twins. "And these must be June and Mina." Mina smiled immediately. "How did you know?" Mrs. Kim laughed. Your mother talks about you all the time. The twins exchanged proud little smiles. Children have a wonderful way of measuring success. Not through awards, not through money, but through love. As the van pulled onto the expressway, Seoul unfolded around us. Glass skyscrapers reflected the afternoon sun. Tree-lined streets glowed with shades of gold and orange. Students hurried across university campuses. Businessmen crossed busy intersections. Couples sat beside the Han River, enjoying the cool weather. Everything looked familiar, yet everything felt different. Perhaps it wasn't Seoul that had changed. Perhaps it was me. Mrs. Kim looked at me through the rearview mirror. Are you nervous about tomorrow? A little. You shouldn't be. The entire conference is excited about your presentation. I hope they're excited about the technology. They are. She smiled. But they're also curious about the woman who built it. I looked out the window again. If only they knew. No one attending that conference knew why this city mattered so much to me. To them, I was simply another international speaker, another scientist, another entrepreneur. No one knew that 6 years earlier, I had arrived in Seoul carrying 2 suitcases, a scholarship letter, and a dream far bigger than myself. No one knew that I had fallen deeply in love here. No one knew that I'd also left with a broken heart. Or that the father of my children still lived somewhere in this city, completely unaware they even existed. The hotel overlooked the Han River. After checking in, the twins rushed toward the enormous windows. Mom? Mina gasped. The river is beautiful. It really is. June placed both hands against the glass. Did you come here when you were a student? Sometimes. With your friends? I hesitated, then smiled gently. Yes, that wasn't a lie. Han Do-yoon had been my best friend long before he became the love of my life. Later that evening, after the twins had fallen asleep, I stood alone on the hotel balcony. The cool autumn breeze carried distant sounds of traffic across the river. My presentation notes rested on the small table beside me. I should have been practicing. Instead, I found myself staring at the silver bracelet around my wrist. I hadn't worn it in years, not until today. I slowly traced my fingers across its smooth surface. I should have left you at home, I whispered. But deep inside, I knew why I hadn't. Some memories don't disappear. They simply become quieter, until one ordinary day, life finds a way to wake them again. The next morning arrived faster than I expected. The twins were already dressed before I finished my coffee. Mrs. Kim knocked gently on the suite door. The conference vehicle has arrived. I nodded. Thank you. As we rode toward the convention center, I had no idea that the next few hours would change every plan I had made for the future. Because in another part of the city, a man named Han Do-yoon had just made a last-minute decision to attend the Global Health Summit in person. Neither of us knew that destiny had quietly begun bringing us back together. 6 years earlier, my life in Seoul had been completely different. I was 24, a scholarship student from Kenya studying biomedical engineering at one of the best universities in Korea. I was the only African woman in my department. I was quiet, serious, and always in the library. Do-yoon was the opposite. He was popular, kind, and brilliant in a way that made everyone feel comfortable around him. He was a senior research assistant in the same lab where I was assigned as an intern. The first time we spoke, I had broken a very expensive centrifuge. I stood frozen, holding the broken part, whispering, "Oh no, oh no, oh no." He walked in, looked at the machine, looked at me, and said calmly, "If we pretend we didn't see it, do you think it will fix itself?" I laughed for the first time in weeks. He didn't report me, he stayed late and helped me fix it. That was Do-yoon. He had a gentle heart. From that day, we became friends. He taught me how to use equipment I was too shy to ask about. I helped him edit his English research papers. We started having lunch together every day in the campus garden. He taught me how to say, "I believe in you," in Korean. Nan neo mideo. I taught him how to say it in Swahili, nakuamini. Months passed. Our friendship slowly became something deeper, something neither of us expected. One rainy evening, after we both finished a late experiment, he walked me home with one small umbrella. We were shoulder to shoulder, trying not to get wet. At my dormitory gate, he looked at me for a long time. "Neema," he said softly, "I don't want this to be just friendship anymore." My heart was beating so fast I could barely speak. "I thought you would never say it," I whispered. He smiled, relieved and happy. That night, under the rain, he held my hands and promised that no matter how difficult things became, we would face them together. And for a whole year, we did. He was my home in a foreign country. We dreamed together. My dream was to build low-cost medical devices that could save lives in villages like the one where my grandmother had died because there was no diagnosis in time. His dream was to take his family's company, Han Biotech, and turn it from a business that only cared about profit into a company that truly helped people. We spent nights drawing designs on napkins. We talked about a future clinic in Nairobi and a research lab in Seoul. We were young, in love, and we believed love was enough to solve everything. We were wrong. Later that year, everything began to fall apart. His father, Chairman Han, discovered our relationship. He did not approve. Not because I was not smart or kind, but because I was not Korean, and I was not part of the family plan he had made for his only son. Do-yoon tried to fight for us. He argued with his father for weeks. He told me, "Give me time. I will make him understand who you really are." I believed him. Until the day I waited for him at our favorite place by the Han River. He was 3 hours late. When he finally arrived, his eyes were red. He looked exhausted. He sat beside me and held my hands so tightly. "Neema, my father is sick. Very sick. The doctors say his heart is weak. If I disobey him now, I am afraid." He couldn't finish. I understood what he was trying to say. His family was threatening to remove him from the company, from his future, from everything he had worked for. His mother called me that same night. She cried on the phone. "Please, Neema, let him go. You are a good girl, but this family, we will break you both." The next day, I found out I was pregnant. I stared at the test in the small dormitory bathroom, shaking. 2 lines. I was going to be a mother. I wanted to tell Do-yoon immediately, but that afternoon, I saw him at the university with his father and a young Korean woman in a beautiful dress. They were smiling for a photograph. Later, a friend whispered to me, "That's his arranged marriage meeting. His family is introducing him to the daughter of another company president." My chest tightened. I went to our lab to wait for him. When he came in, he looked guilty. "Who was that woman?" I asked quietly. He sighed. "My father arranged it, but it means nothing. I told them I have someone I love. I told them I choose you." "And what did your father say?" He looked away. He said, "If I marry you, he will cut me off completely. He will never support my dream to change the company." Silence filled the room. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. Not fear of losing me. Fear of losing his family, his future, his identity. I realized then that I was asking him to choose between 2 worlds. And I loved him too much to let him hate himself later for the choice. So I made the choice for him. Few days later, I left a letter on his desk. It said I had received an opportunity back home, and I had to leave immediately. It said he should not look for me. It said I would always cherish our time together. I did not tell him about the babies. I thought I was protecting him. I thought I was being strong. I boarded a plane with 2 suitcases, just like when I arrived. But this time, I carried 2 tiny heartbeats inside me. I told myself I would never return to Seoul. Life, however, had other plans. The Global Health Summit Convention Center was enormous. Glass walls, bright lights, hundreds of people in formal suits walking with coffee cups and name tags. Mrs. Kim led us through a private entrance. "Dr. Mwangi, Your rehearsal is in 30 minutes. The twins can wait in the family lounge with me. There are snacks and drawing books. Mina's eyes lit up. Snacks? Mrs. Kim laughed. Many snacks. I kissed both twins on their foreheads. Be good. I will be back soon. June hugged me tightly. Fighting, Mom, like you taught us. My heart melted. Fighting was a Korean word of encouragement Do-yoon had taught me years ago. Hearing my son say it in this city felt like a full circle. As I walked toward the main auditorium, I felt my old nerves return. The stage was huge. A giant screen behind it read, "The future of diagnostics is portable." I took a deep breath and stepped onto the stage to test my microphone. That was when I saw him. At first, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. A man in a dark navy suit stood in the front row, speaking to one of the organizers. Tall, broad shoulders. The same way of standing with his hands in his pockets when he was listening. He turned. Our eyes met. Time stopped. Han Do-yoon. He was more mature now. His face was sharper. There were faint lines around his eyes that were not there before. But his eyes were the same. Warm, deep, kind. He froze in the middle of a sentence. His lips parted slightly. Neema? His voice was barely a whisper, but in the silent hall, I heard it. My hands began to tremble. I wanted to run. I wanted to stay. I wanted to cry. I did none of those things. I simply stood on stage, holding my notes, feeling my heart pound so loudly I was sure everyone could hear it. The organizer beside him looked confused. Do you two know each other? Do-yoon could not answer. He just stared at me as though he had seen a ghost. Later that night, after rehearsal, I tried to calm myself in the family lounge. Mina was drawing a picture of the river. June was reading a science book Mrs. Kim had bought for him. Mom, are you okay? Mina asked, noticing my quietness. Yes, my love. Just a little tired. That was a lie. I had not felt this awake in 5 years. Meanwhile, in another room on the top floor, Do-yoon sat alone. He had canceled all his meetings. In his hand, he held the conference program. On the page, there was a photo of me. Dr. Neema Mwangi, founder and CEO, Afro-Korean Technologies, Kenya. The woman who invented a device that could diagnose 10 deadly diseases with 1 drop of blood, without electricity, for less than $1. The woman the world was calling a genius. The woman he had once loved more than his own life. He whispered my name again and again, as if trying to convince himself this was real. 5 years ago, after I disappeared, he had searched for me everywhere. He had gone to my dormitory. My professors said I had withdrawn and returned to Africa. He had emailed me every day for months. My old email was closed. He had blamed himself every single day. He thought I left because he was not brave enough to fight harder for us. He never knew the real reason. His assistant knocked and entered. Sir, Chairman Han is on the line. He wants to know if you will attend the board dinner tonight. Do-yoon closed his eyes. His father, Chairman Han, the company Do-yoon now led as CEO, was in serious trouble. For the past 2 years, Han Biotech had been losing money. Their old laboratory equipment was failing. Investors were leaving. They had bet everything on an expensive hospital system that no one wanted to buy because it was too complicated and too expensive for small clinics. The board was angry. His father, whose health was worse now, had told him last week, "If you cannot save this company in 3 months, I will have to sell it." Do-yoon felt the weight of his entire family on his shoulders. He looked at my photo again. He had a strange feeling that fate was giving him a second chance, not just for love, but for something bigger. The next day was the opening day of the summit. The auditorium was filled with over 2,000 people, journalists, cameras, leaders from all over the world. I stood backstage, wearing a simple blue dress, my hands cold. Mrs. Kim came to me with the twins. They wanted to see you before you go on stage. Mina hugged my legs. You will be amazing, Mom. June gave me his lucky science pin. For good luck. I pinned it to my dress. Thank you, my scientist. An announcer's voice echoed. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our next innovator, Dr. Neema Mwangi, from Kenya, creator of the Afro-Scan one-drop device. The audience clapped. I walked onto the stage. Bright lights hit my face. I saw a sea of people. And in the front row, right in the center, was Do-yoon. He stared at me as though he was seeing a dream he had lost. I started my presentation. At first, my voice shook. Then I remembered why I built this device. I remembered my grandmother. I remembered the villages in Kenya where mothers walked for hours to reach a clinic only to be told there was no lab. I remembered nights feeding twins while sketching circuit boards. My voice became strong. This device was not built in a perfect laboratory, I told the audience. It was built on a small kitchen table, while my children slept beside me. It was built because I believe every child, no matter where they are born, deserves a fair chance to live. The audience was silent, listening deeply. Do-yoon's eyes were wet. He was not just proud. He was moved, because he remembered the girl who used to say those exact words in his tiny apartment years ago. I finished the presentation with a video of a small clinic in Turkana, using our device to save a little girl. The whole auditorium stood up and clapped. It was overwhelming. I bowed, tears in my eyes. Then, from the side of the stage, I heard a small voice. Mom. Mina had escaped from Mrs. Kim's hand and was running toward me, her twin brother right behind her. Mom, you did it. The audience laughed warmly. I knelt and hugged them both. That was when I looked up. Do-yoon had stood up. He was looking at the twins. He looked at Jun's face, his serious eyes, his little frown when he concentrates. It was like looking into a mirror from 30 years ago. Then he looked at Mina's bright smile, then at me, then back at Jun. The color slowly disappeared from his face. He did the math in his head. 5 years. Twins. 6 years old. He stumbled slightly. His assistant tried to hold his arm. Sir, are you okay? Do-yoon couldn't speak. For the first time in 5 years, he realized there was a question he should have asked long ago. And the answer was standing right in front of him, calling me Mom. The next few hours were chaos. Reporters wanted interviews. Doctors wanted to know more about the device. Investors wanted meetings. I tried to focus, but my eyes kept searching for Do-yoon. He was gone. He had left the auditorium immediately after the twins appeared. Mrs. Kim held my hand. Dr. Mwangi, are you ready to go back to the hotel? You look pale. I nodded. I wanted to be anywhere but there. Later that evening, back at the hotel, I tucked the twins into bed. They were exhausted and happy, talking non-stop about how many people had clapped for me. Mom, did you see the man in the front row crying? Mina asked innocently. He looked very handsome, like Jun when he is older. My heart stopped. Jun added, he stared at us a lot. Do you know him? I brushed their hair gently. Yes, I knew him a long time ago. He was a very good friend. Like Uncle Tomas? Mina asked, referring to my business partner in Nairobi. Something like that. Can we meet him? Jun asked. I hesitated. Maybe. After they fell asleep, I sat on the balcony again, staring at the river lights. My phone buzzed. An unknown Korean number. I knew who it was before I even answered. Neema. His voice. Deeper now, but still the same voice that used to whisper that he believed in me. Do-yoon. Silence. Heavy silence that held 5 years of questions. Can we meet? He asked quietly. Please, I need to understand. I wanted to say no. I wanted to protect my children. I wanted to protect myself. But running had never solved anything. Tomorrow morning, I said. 7 a.m., at the small cafe by the Han River, the one near the university. He knew exactly which one. I will be there. The next morning arrived cold and misty. I left Mrs. Kim with the twins and took a taxi to the river. The cafe was exactly the same, small wooden tables, the smell of coffee and toast, the same old tree outside the window. Do-yoon was already there, sitting at our old table. He stood up the moment he saw me. He looked like he had not slept at all. Neema. Do-yoon. We sat. For a minute, neither of us spoke. He looked at my hands, at the silver bracelet. His eyes widened. You still have it. I touched it unconsciously. I kept it. He swallowed hard. Neema, the children. His voice broke. Are they mine? I had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in my mind. I had imagined being angry, being cold, being distant. But seeing him now, seeing the pain and hope in his eyes, I could only tell the truth. Yes. He closed his eyes. A tear rolled down his cheek. He didn't try to hide it. Twins, he whispered. A boy and a girl. June and Mina. They are 6. June and Mina, he repeated, as if tasting the names. Beautiful names. I named June after your middle name. Because he has your serious face when he thinks. Do-yoon covered his face with his hands. His shoulders shook. I am so sorry, Neema. I am so sorry. Why are you sorry? Because you went through everything alone. Pregnancy, birth, raising them. While I was here, doing nothing. Believing you left because you stopped loving me. I did not stop loving you, I said softly. I left because I thought I was setting you free. He looked up, eyes red. You left a letter. You said you had an opportunity. I tried to find you. Your number was off. Your email was gone. I went to your professor. He said you withdrew and left Korea. I thought I had failed you so badly that you couldn't even bear to see me again. I was scared, I admitted. I found out I was pregnant the same day your father introduced you to another woman. I thought if I told you, you would be forced to choose between your family and us. And I was afraid you would choose your family and I would hate you forever. So I chose to leave first. It was wrong. I know that now. He reached across the table slowly, asking permission with his eyes. I let him take my hand. His hand was warm. Neema, that woman meant nothing. My father forced me to meet her. The day after you left, I told my father I would not marry anyone else. We fought terribly. He had a mild heart attack that week. Everyone blamed me. They said my rebellion made him sick. I stayed out of guilt. I stayed, but my heart left with you. We both cried quietly. Two people who had loved each other deeply, hurt each other deeply, not out of cruelty, but out of youth and fear. Few days later, Do-yoon asked if he could meet the twins properly. I was nervous. I asked June and Mina first. There is a man who is your father, I told them gently in our hotel room. He did not know about you. It was not his fault. It was my choice not to tell him. He is a kind man. Would you like to meet him? Mina tilted her head. Is he the handsome crying man from yesterday? I laughed through tears. Yes. June, my little scientist, thought seriously. Does he like science? Very much. Then I want to meet him. We met at the Children's Museum. Do-yoon arrived early, carrying 2 small gifts, awkwardly holding them. He knelt when he saw them, his eyes full of wonder. Hello, June. Hello, Mina. Mina, who was never shy, walked right up to him and stared at his face. You have the same eyes as June, she announced. Do-yoon laughed, tears in his eyes. And you have the same smile as your mother. June stepped forward more cautiously. My mom says you build medical things too. I do, but your mom is much better at it than I am. June smiled proudly. I know. Within 30 minutes, the awkwardness melted. Do-yoon and June were building a model bridge together, both with the same concentrated frown. Mina was telling Do-yoon all about Nairobi, her school, and her dream of owning a barbecue restaurant that also sells science books. I stood a few steps back, watching. For 6 years, I had been both mother and father. Seeing my children laugh with their father for the first time, I felt a piece of my heart that had been missing finally click back into place. Later that night, after the twins were asleep in the hotel, Do-yoon and I sat in the lobby, talking for hours like we used to. He told me about Han Biotech, how his father built it from nothing, but how it was now failing because it refused to change. We make machines that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Only big hospitals can buy them. Small clinics cannot. We are losing. My father will have to sell the company next month. 200 employees will lose their jobs. I feel like I failed everyone. I listened carefully. My mind, the engineer's mind, started working. Do-yoon, what if there is another way? He looked at me. What do you mean? What if Han Biotech doesn't need to make huge machines anymore? What if it makes small ones? Like mine. He frowned. Your device? My device diagnoses, but it cannot manufacture at scale yet. We are small. You have factories. You have engineers. You have distribution across Asia. We have the technology that every small clinic in the world wants. What if we partner? Do-yoon's eyes widened. He had spent 2 years trying to save his family company with old ideas. He had never thought the answer would come from the woman he loved and the children he never knew he had. Neema, would you really consider that? After what my family did to you? I smiled. Do-yoon, your family did not destroy me. Fear did. And fear can be healed. Your company has good people. I met some of them when I was an intern. They deserve a second chance too. He stared at me, full of admiration. You have not changed. You still see the best in people. I learned that from you. That night, we made a plan. Not just to save a company, but to heal a family. The next morning, I received an angry phone call. It was Chairman Han. Do-yoon had told him about us, about the twins, about the partnership idea. He wanted to meet me, alone. Mrs. Kim looked worried. Chairman Han is a very strict man, Dr. Mwangi. I know, I said calmly. But I am not the same girl who was afraid of him 5 years ago. I went to Han Biotech headquarters. The building was tall and cold. The chairman's office was on the top floor. Chairman Han sat behind a large desk. He was older, thinner, and his hair was completely white, but his eyes were still sharp. He looked at me for a long time. So you are back, he said. Yes, Chairman. With my grandchildren. Yes. He sighed deeply. I was wrong 5 years ago. I was surprised. I expected anger. He continued. When you left, Do-yoon became a different person. Quiet. He worked hard, but his light was gone. I thought it was youthful heartbreak. I thought he would forget. He never did. I told myself I protected my family, but I was really protecting my pride. And now, I am about to lose everything my father and I built. He looked out the window, tired. Do-yoon says you want to save my company. I want to build something together, I corrected gently. Afro-Korean is small, but our device is loved because it is simple and cheap, and it saves lives. Han Biotech is big and trusted, but it forgot who it is supposed to serve. If we combine, we can make a device that every clinic in Africa and Asia can afford. Your factories can build it. My team can improve it. We can save your employees' jobs, and we can save lives. He looked at me again, truly looking this time. You are brave. I am a mother. Mothers have to be brave. A small smile appeared on his stern face for the first time. My wife always wanted a daughter, and grandchildren who laugh loudly. Our house was always too quiet. He stood up slowly. Can I meet them? Few days later, the boardroom at Han Biotech was full. All the directors, all the investors, and Chairman Han sat at the head of the table. Do-yoon stood beside me, and in the corner, coloring quietly, were June and Mina. Chairman Han began the meeting. For 40 years, this company chased money and prestige. We forgot why my father started it. He started it because his sister died without a doctor. We lost our way. Today, my son and Dr. Neema Mwangi have shown me a new path. It is not a path of big machines for rich hospitals. It is a path of small miracles for everyone. Do-yoon presented the partnership plan. I presented the Afro-Korean technology. Then, something unexpected happened. June raised his hand. Excuse me, he said in his small but confident voice. Can I show something? Everyone turned. He walked to the front, holding his small backpack. He took out a broken Afro-Korean prototype I had given him to play with. My mom's device was breaking when it got too hot. I told her maybe she can add a small fan like in my toy car. She listened to me, and it worked. So now it doesn't break. He showed the tiny modification he had suggested, a small ventilation hole. The engineers in the room leaned forward, amazed at the simplicity. Mina jumped up next, and I said we should make it yellow, because yellow is happy and children will not be scared. The boardroom, which had been so tense, burst into laughter and warm applause. Chairman Han laughed the loudest. He walked over and knelt before the twins. "Thank you," he whispered to them. "Thank you for saving this old man's company." Mina hugged him immediately. June bowed politely, just like Do-yoon. That day, the board unanimously approved the partnership. Han Biotech and Afro-Korean would merge to create a new company, Han Afro Health. The first product would be the one-drop device, manufactured in Seoul and Nairobi, for clinics all over the world. 3 months later, the company was not just saved, it was thriving. Orders came from 50 countries. The story of the Afro-Korean twins who saved a company became news everywhere. But for our family, the real success was not in business. The real success was in small moments. 1 year later, on a warm evening in Seoul, our small family sat by the Han River, exactly where Do-yoon and I used to dream. Chairman Han and his wife sat with us, watching June and Mina run around with kites. Mrs. Han held Mina's hand tightly, as if afraid she would disappear. Do-yoon held my hand. "Neema, I chose my family over you once," he said softly. "I thought I was being loyal. But I learned that real loyalty is not about choosing one family over another. Real loyalty is about making your family bigger, so no one has to be left out." I smiled, leaning my head on his shoulder. He had finally proposed again, properly this time, with both twins holding the ring box and arguing about who got to give it to me. I had said yes. Not because I needed to be saved, but because we had all grown enough to save each other. Later that night, as the sun set over the river, Mina asked, "Grandfather, are we rich now?" Chairman Han laughed. "No, my dear. We are something better. We are useful." June nodded seriously. "My teacher says being useful is the best kind of success." And he was right. Sometimes life will force you to choose between love and duty, between your dreams and your family. But true love never asks you to become smaller. True family never asks you to abandon your heart. The greatest companies, the greatest families, and the greatest lives are not built by choosing one person over another. They are built by opening the door wider, so everyone you love can come inside. Because in the end, success is not about how much money you make or how many awards you win. Success is about who is holding your hand when you look back at how far you have come. And if you have love, if you have forgiveness, if you have the courage to try again, then you are already rich. Thank you so much for listening to our story today. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe for more emotional stories about love, second chances, and family. And don't forget, tell us in the comments where you are watching from. We would love to hear from you. Until next time, remember, love always finds its way home.